Hello everybody and welcome back to Red Eagle Politics. Make sure you like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So Donald Trump did it. He went out there today earlier than I expected and endorsed Blake Masters for Senate in Arizona. A very good endorsement for Donald Trump in terms of the Senate race there. He endorsed by far the best candidate. And in this video, I'm going to explain why. We're going to get into this endorsement because this is huge. And this was a competitive field, and Masters has been surging recently, kind of how Vance did in Ohio, and then Trump endorsed Vance, and then he surged into the first place. And I think it's going to be a very similar thing here, a very similar phenomenon, and I think earlier than expected, it is going to absolutely clear the field for Trump's choice, which again, in this race, was the best choice. So we're going to get into this a little bit more, but I have to tell you guys about my very good friends over at Noble Gold. Now, with inflation at 8.5% and maybe higher, don't you think you need to be smarter with your money? You need it to grow, not shrink. You need freedom, not debt. Start a gold IRA with Noble Gold now and you'll be safe. And this month, for every cash deal above $20K, you'll get an incredible 3-ounce silver American Virtue coin completely free as a thank you. You can't go wrong with Noble Gold. Call 877-646-5347 now to find out more, or visit noblegoldinvestments.com. So Trump gave Blake Masters a lengthy endorsement. This was not just a copy-paste. He's good on the border, the two-way, this, that, or whatever. No, this was a from-the-heart endorsement, you could say. And it really shows. And Trump, like I said, for the longest time was leaning towards Masters. He gave Brnovich a lot of opportunities, and it seems like Brnovich fumbled the ball every time. And ever since that Trump came around to Vance and endorsed Vance, I was almost certain that he would endorse Masters. Masters and Vance have been seen as a package deal, except for the fact that Masters supported Trump as early as like 2015 in the primaries, whereas Vance didn't support Trump in the 2016 election. So Masters, one could argue, is a more proven product than J.D. Vance, which is important to note. Then he goes on to say, Blake Masters is one of the most successful businessmen and investors in the country, led a firm that invests in new technology and many other emerging companies. In addition, he runs a nonprofit, great modern day thinker, just talks about his past, talks about the book that he wrote and said, despite having such an amazing business career and wonderful family, Blake has decided he wants to make a difference for the people of our country and therefore is running for Senate, is strong on border security, in particular the disastrous southern border, talks about that, which is good. You love to see that because the border is a big issue in Arizona. We pulled up the numbers so many times on this channel. Like, we're anticipating like 2 to 3 million illegal border crossings this year alone. And last year was unprecedentedly high. This year, it's getting even worse. That puts Arizona, Texas, New Mexico, California at risk. You don't know who's entering these states down by the southern border. And Blake Masters is somebody who's been on Twitter Spaces and has basically all but said that he supports an immigration moratorium. I'm pretty sure if net zero moratorium was up for vote in the U.S. Senate, that he would vote for it. He's somebody who understands these issues better than most people. Then he goes on to say he'll cut regulations, be tough on crime, support our military and vets, and fight for our totally under siege Second Amendment. And then he goes on to attack Mark Brnovich. Now, I can't exactly cover every single thing he said for TOS purposes, but basically, Brnovich was weak on 2020. He did not push back on the election law legislation that the Democrats and people like Stacey Abrams just were shilling for. Brnovich did not fight back against it. You saw Arizona's laws for the elections change a little bit, and maybe they changed to favor one side over the others, among other things, right? Among other things. And then he goes on to say Blake would be basically good on election integrity as Trump views it. So beyond that point, it seems as if Trump did the right thing, in my opinion. And he had a very long, well thought out, heartfelt endorsement. Masters is good on the border. He's very good on trade. He is a populist and a nationalist. He calls out anti-white Marxism in schools by name. He is willing to go out there and basically just say, why does everything have to be so gay? And that's really relevant now in the month of June, first video we're doing in June, which says a lot because Blake Masters worked for Peter Thiel. And a lot of people have speculated that Peter Thiel was one of the reasons why Trump's 2016 campaign wasn't exactly like your typical Republican when it came to the alphabet issues. Like, Trump was like pro-bathroom. A lot of people were saying Peter Thiel was behind it. I'm not entirely sure if that was entirely the case, but it seems as if Masters is kind of being his own man on that issue, even though he's funded by Thiel, which I think is a positive sign. I think Thiel endorses some candidates that flop and some are bad, but he has endorsed a lot of good candidates. He endorsed Kobach. I believe he gave money to Sessions as well. I don't know about that one in Alabama, but he was a staunch supporter of Donald Trump in the 2015-2016 primaries very early on, back when Trump was at his peak baseness. So taking all of that into consideration, I don't think the Teal thing is really that much of a red flag or even a yellow flag or a flag at all for Blake Masters. I think that he's very solid on the issues. He will instantly be one of the best, if not the best, senators when he wins the general election in November. And this is true. And you look at the other candidates in this race. You have Mark Brnovich, Jim Lamont, Blake Masters, Mick McGuire, and Justin Olson. Olson is a non-factor. McGuire is also a non-factor, but he's like a war hawk from what I can tell. Lamont is weak. He's a businessman. He's just pouring money into this race, and it's going nowhere, basically. And Brnovich is this establishment, boring, round-faced attorney general that they have in the state of Arizona. And he's been so weak on all these issues, and people are hyping him up because, he's electable. But I don't even think he is. Look into his past record. He barely outperformed Trump 2016 in 2014. He underperformed Trump 2016 in 2018. And you could say, it's a blue wave year. But he went up against a no-name Bernie bro candidate and only won by 2 to 3 points. And that was a year where Doug Ducey, who was another electa-bro favorite, he won by 14. So taking all of this into consideration, I don't believe that Brnovich is really that electable. I don't think he's really that likable. I think that he probably would win if he got the nomination, which I don't think he's going to get now, over Mark Kelly, because Mark Kelly's overrated. But you need somebody that's going to bring something new to the table in order to beat Mark Kelly, in my opinion, by the biggest margin you possibly can. And I think that Blake Masters is that choice. But more on the electability, we'll get to that in a minute, but it just really shows that Arizona is transforming. The GOP in Arizona used to be this neocon GOP. I don't necessarily believe everybody involved was a neocon. I don't think it's a neocon state as many people will put it. But now you're looking at the frontrunners by far for the Senate race and for the governor's race, and you see Blake Masters and Kari Lake. I mean, their personalities are slightly different, don't get me wrong, but they are an unbeatable package deal. They will turn Arizona into Florida, but better. This is the case. If you have strong leadership in a state, you can change policy. You can change the culture. Ron DeSantis did it in Florida. And you talk about the fact that Florida was seen as a neocon state. Jeb Bush was their governor. Their senators were fairly weak. And Marco Rubio, Rubio's changing his tune on rhetoric at least now because he has to, because the state is changing. In Arizona, I think you're going to see a similar change. Arizona could be on the verge of, I guess you would say, becoming the new Georgia if more liberal Californians are incentivized to move in. But if you actually have leadership that want to take a stand against that, people like Kari Lake, people like Blake Masters that are intelligent and have substantive policy that they want to push in order to keep Arizona, Arizona, then Arizona is going to be a more nationalist, populist type of Trumpian state in the future. Trump candidates already have a very high floor. I mean, Trump was somebody who went out there and he trashed John McCain nonstop in 2016 and all the way throughout his presidency, and you see what happens. I mean, it was pretty much neck and neck regardless. Both times you could say 2016 a little bit more right-leaning, but the national environment was a little bit more right-leaning as well. And with changes to demography, you're not going to convince me that somebody like a Mitt Romney would win the state by 8 or 9 points again in 2020 or 2024 even. You're not going to convince me that the state is changing. The suburbs are definitely growing, but how exactly do you stop that growth while still appealing to the voters that you can win? Run solid candidates, run optical candidates. Masters and Lake are both that, and they have a lot of suburban appeal. One could say Lake has been in the region for a while. Masters is somebody that talks about the family. He talks about the fact that he wants people to be able to raise a family on one income again. That's what you need in a place like Maricopa County. He's also from Pima County, lived there most of his life, so he might be able to do better than past Republicans in around the Tucson area. So take that into consideration as well. In terms of the electability lie that they like to push, they will say Masters is unelectable and go for Brnovich, but Brnovich has already shown the fact that he's not that likable. He's not electable. He just plays with his nunchucks and thinks that he's being cool. And that's all he does. If you've seen this guy, on these videos and in his ads, he just, takes these nunchucks and just, circles them around and thinks he's the coolest guy in the world. And it's no, that's not electable. I will concede the fact that Masters is not that charismatic. I think some of the ads that he's done, in cornfields or whatever in the past, I could understand why they'd be a little bit off-putting. I think Masters understands that now. He kind of doesn't do that as much as he used to. But either way, I think that he is genuinely likable. He's an interesting guy. I mean, I saw him once. I didn't actually go up and introduce myself to him because it was a very crowded room. I met a lot of politicians, but this guy, he literally was dressed like a teenager, one could say. But that's just kind of his style. He's Blake Masters. He's what he does. Either way, it's crazy. But you talk about somebody that can actually speak to Arizonans on the policy that matters, and that's him. Brnovich is going to give you the platitudes. He might beat Mark Kelly. Mark Kelly's overrated. He ran as this moderate astronaut. He has governed like nothing but. Sinema at least pretends to be a moderate. She tries. But Mark Kelly doesn't even try. And it shows. So you could see that. You talk about this. But people want substance. People want change. And the fact that Trump endorsed Masters is huge. And Masters is going to get the nomination, in my opinion. You look at the polls right now, and you could see this. Fabrizio Lee is the pollster that predicted Ohio perfectly. And you could say, oh, it's the internal of Masters and Vance. I don't care. They were right. Like them or not, they're accurate. Maybe they're not as accurate in Arizona as they are in Ohio, but either way, what we know, Masters is neck and neck. And in Signal, Masters is neck and neck. Trafalgar, Masters is down a little bit, but that Trump endorsement would shift more than enough votes. And you look at the fact that he's climbed up significantly. People said, oh, he's in third place. He's not going to win. Yeah, same people that are talking about how they're phone banking for Brnovich. It's funny because now they actually concede the fact that Masters is going to win the nomination. And he'll win the general too, but it's so funny. These electabros, these people, they never learn. They never do. But Brnovich is a loser. There's a reason why he couldn't get above 30% in the polls and why he's fallen even without the Trump factor. Lamont is taken off a little bit because he has a lot of money, but that money is being spent and it's basically not really getting him anything. And Masters is a serious candidate. The guy is fundraising more from actual voters, not just his super PACs, than Brnovich and Lamont. People are saying Brnovich is actually trying. Well, Masters is out here. He's the one that's getting all of these small dollar donations. So I don't know. You call him an internet candidate all you want. Trump was the internet candidate. AOC, like her or not, was an internet candidate. Now she's in Congress. And Vance is the internet candidate in Ohio, where he used to be, and he won big in the primary. So no, he's definitely somebody who's in touch with the online base, but I consider that a good thing. If I disagree with something Masters does, I could, shoot him a DM on Twitter and yell at him about it if he disappoints me. I could do that because he follows me. Brnovich doesn't follow me. Lamont doesn't follow me. You follow me on Twitter, you're more likely than not to get my endorsement because I'm a businessman. I understand how politics works, at least for the goals that I want to accomplish, but either way, it's so true. You talk about how to win. It's going to be a big red wave environment. Pretty much any candidate is going to win if they get the nomination because Mark Kelly's overrated. So you need somebody that could go out there and bring substance to do it, that could actually bring the fire. And I think Masters is that guy. Looking at the county map here, I think he would do very well by the border, mainly because of the fact that he is somebody that cares about what's going on there and has a comprehensive policy strategy to combat it. I think he will do very well in the exurbs. I think he's a good candidate for places like Pinal County, up by Prescott. I think he would do better than Trump there. I think that he would run it up in Mojave County as well, and probably Maricopa. I think he would do arguably a little bit better there in places like Mesa. The Mormon-heavy parts of East Maricopa, he would do well, and better than Trump, I think, in Pima, significantly because he's from there. And somebody like Kari Lake also being on the ticket, this is a package deal. They are going to be a winning tandem. They will go out there and they will help each other. Some might say that Masters might not have charisma. Well, Lake does. Some may say that Lake isn't really that ideological, which is a lie in my opinion, but Masters is more ideological. So either way, this is a winning tandem, and they're both solid, and they're both going to win. Katie Hobbs is garbage. Kari Lake's going to probably win by 7. Mark Kelly's overrated. Masters is probably going to win by 3 or 4. Brnovich probably would win by less than that, in my opinion. But that's really just the way it is. Arizona Republicans are energized. Like I said, Trump Republicans run the state now. They have a high floor. Whether you like it or not, it's not a neocon state anymore. A lot of these swing voters that are, voted for Romney and then voted for Hillary, they're not going to come back for anybody for the most part. This is true. A lot of them won't. And that's the way it is. So you look at the fact that Biggs is outperforming Trump, Gosar is outperforming Trump in their congressional races. You take everything into consideration, and it's no, Arizona is a state that I think is like a DeSantis type of candidate would do very well there. But somebody like Masters and Lake, they're arguably a little bit more populist than that, and they're more conservative. And I think that's a very good thing, and they're more willing to use power to actually accomplish their goals, which is going to keep Arizona in the Republican column for decades to come. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Make sure you like this video down below, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description down below. And I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. Red Eagle out.